Emergency and rescue work has been completed in Poltava. 55 people were killed in a Russian missile strike on an educational institution. A month has passed since the beginning of the Kursk operation. Ukraine controls 1,300 square kilometers. New Ukrainian Thermite-Spewing Dragon Drones have been spotted across the front line. Hi, I'm Zhenya Melnik and this is United 24 Media. Russian troops attacked the city of Pavlohrad in the Dnipropetrovsk region. At least one civilian was killed, at least 61 people were injured, 5 children among them, reported the local governor. More than 30 residential buildings were also damaged. Naval drones attacked the Russian port town of Novorossiysk, where the naval base of the Russian Black Sea Fleet is situated. The mayor of the town announced the closure of the nearby shoreline for the duration of the attack in the early hours of the September 5th. 55 people were killed in a Russian missile strike on an educational institution in Poltava, with 328 people injured. The 6-story building of the Telecommunication Institute was partially destroyed. Emergency and rescue work on the site of the attack was completed on the September 5th, reported the State Emergency Service. Currently, experts are identifying the bodies. Earlier, the Ministry of Defense spokesperson said the intel suggested that Russia used 2 Iskander ballistic missiles.
Lectures were taking place when at 9:08 a.m. the air raid alert sounded, so everyone was on their way to the shelter. A few minutes later, the explosions happened.
People brought flowers and toys to a makeshift memorial at the site of the Russian air attack on Lviv. 7 civilians were killed in a Russian attack on the western city. Among them were 2 children, reported the regional governor. More than 60 people were injured. The Russian army launched a combined strike. In particular, the city was hit with 2 Kinjal ballistic missiles.
We live just next door. It's a horrific tragedy. One can never get over it. I keep asking myself, God, what was that for? Did we ever do something bad to anyone? We are ordinary people who are living our lives.
Poland will help fund the restoration of the historical buildings destroyed by Russian missiles in Lviv. 180 apartment buildings, among them schools, were damaged in the attack, reported the city mayor. 20 of them are in a critical state. All of them are located within the UNESCO historical area and are listed in the State Register of Historical Heritage of Ukraine. Prime Minister Donald Tusk offered Poland's support in restoring the housing, rallying support on his X page for the city of Lviv in its time of need. The Netherlands is to allocate 200 million euros to Ukraine in financial aid. This was announced at a press conference by the Dutch Prime Minister Dick Schoof. On September 2nd, together with President Zelenskyy, he visited Zaporizhzhia. The Prime Minister underlined the commitment of the Netherlands to bolster Ukraine during the war.
That the Netherlands is providing a substantial support package worth over 200 million euros. This extra support is focused on protecting and repairing the energy infrastructure that Russia is trying to destroy with its criminal attacks. To ensure that Ukrainians are not left in the cold. The package includes funds for repairing energy infrastructure and buying new gas turbines and essential materials. It also includes additional funding for humanitarian assistance, mental health and psychological support, and mine clearance.
Irish Prime Minister Simon Harris arrived in Kiev for a meeting with President Zelenskyy. Earlier, Harris visited the surrounding towns of Borodyanka, Nemyshaeva and Hostomel, where he witnessed firsthand the aftermath of Russian occupation and shelling back in February-March of 2022. The 2 leaders signed a joint memorandum on areas of cooperation. Ireland pledged the additional funding to Kiev in 2024, consisting of 128 million euros in non-lethal military support and at least 40 million euros in humanitarian aid. Dmytro Kuleba was dismissed as Ukraine's Minister of Foreign Affairs. On September 4th, he handed in his resignation letter, which was voted on in Parliament the next day. Kuleba did not attend Parliament to provide a conclusive report. Besides Kuleba, the Ukrainian Parliament also approved the dismissal of 5 other ministers. During a press conference with Irish Prime Minister Simon Harris, President Zelenskyy emphasized the need for new energy within the administration.
These steps are related only to the strengthening of our state in different directions. International policy, diplomacy is not an exception. I cannot forecast what each minister will be doing in the future. There will be answers when they will be offered new positions. It is too early to talk about it today.
Andriy Sybiga became the new Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine. From 2024, he served as a deputy foreign minister. Before that, he was the deputy head of the Office of the President of Ukraine. International Atomic Energy Agency Director General Rafael Grossi visited the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant occupied by Russian troops. He and his team inspected one of the cooling towers of the plant that caught fire last month. During the press conference, Grossi stated that IAEA was able to determine quite clearly that the fire was not caused by a combustion at the base of the cooling tower. Before visiting the Zaporizhzhia NPP, the agency's director met with the Ukrainian president. In particular, Grossi was briefed on the consequences of the massive Russian attacks on Ukraine's energy infrastructure with ballistic and cruise missiles, along with drones. Starting September 5th, evacuation trains have been cancelled from Pokrovsk in the Donetsk region. The departure station will now be from Pavlohrad in the Dnipropetrovsk region. According to the head of the Donetsk region military administration, this was done due to the complicated security situation. Local administrations are tasked with developing logistical routes for evacuation buses. This will minimize difficulties for residents who want to evacuate from the Donetsk region. Over the past 6 days, Russian forces did not advance a single meter in Pokrovsk, says Ukraine's commander-in-chief Alexander Syrsky in an interview with CNN. Ukrainian forces have managed to stall Russian advances around the city.
And this weakening definitely has been felt in other areas. We note the amount of artillery shelling as well as the intensity of the offensive has decreased. In fact, the Pokrovsk direction remains the most problematic for us, whereas the situation has stabilized in other areas. So I think this strategy was chosen correctly, and it will bring us the desired result.
Syrsky also stated that the Kursk operation is considered a success, diverting the Russian troops from other areas, creating a security zone across the borderline. After the first month of the operation in Russia's Kursk region, 1,300 square kilometers are under Ukraine's control. This includes 100 settlements, stated President Zelenskyy. Today he arrived at Ramstein air base in Germany to participate in a meeting of Ukraine's defense contact group.
A significant part of this territory was abandoned by Russian troops. They simply fled when they saw our forces approaching. Of course, a significant part of the territory was taken under control by our forces in the battles. So far, during the first month of our operation in the Kursk region, the Russian forces have lost about 6,000 soldiers killed and wounded.
During the meeting, the U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin announced a new $250 million aid package to Ukraine.
It will surge more capabilities to meet Ukraine's evolving requirements and will deliver them at the speed of war.
Meanwhile, the United Kingdom will provide Ukraine with 650 Martlet multi-role missiles under a $201 million contract to enhance its air defense capabilities, stated the British Ministry of Defense before the meeting. And the German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius reported that Berlin will deliver an additional 12 self-propelled howitzers to Ukraine. Germany, Denmark and the Netherlands will provide Ukraine with 77 more Leopard 1A5 tanks. Canada promised to help Ukraine with a large batch of engines for unguided aircraft missiles and 1,300 warheads. Ukraine has achieved a lot during the operation in the Kursk region, stated the NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg during a visit to Oslo. However, according to him, it is difficult to say how the situation will develop further.
So it is a great military victory that they actually managed what no one thought was possible when the war started. If they can continue that, whether Ukraine survives as an independent nation depends largely on us.
Ukraine plans to hold the captured Russian territory until the end of the war, stated President Zelenskyy in an interview with NBC. He stated that this is an integral part of a plan which will soon be presented to international partners. Although Ukraine doesn't need any Russian territory per se, as Zelenskyy reiterated, the Kursk operation showed the weakness of the Russian army and Putin's careless attitude towards his own land.
We knew from our intelligence that Russia was planning to set up a buffer zone, and we did understand that they would never stop. So we came to a conclusion that we had to run our own operation, so that the buffer zone was made by us, not them. Next, we showed that their own territory is unsafe. If they brought the war to us, we will return it back to sender.
Russian troops reportedly executed a Ukrainian prisoner of war. A video was published by the I Want to Live project, operated by the main Directorate of Intelligence of Ukraine on September 6. The Ukrainian Human Rights Ombudsman stated that he is contacting the UN and the Red Cross with official letters regarding the breaking of Geneva Conventions. Earlier this week, Donetsk region prosecutors opened an investigation after another video started circulating via Telegram channels. It shows Russian troops executing 3 Ukrainian prisoners of war in the Donetsk direction. CNN reported on another act of summary execution of captured Ukrainian soldiers committed by Russian troops in the Pokrovsk direction in late August. The Ukrainian Prosecutor General Andriy Kostin told the media that his office was investigating 28 such incidents since the start of the war, in which a total of 62 Ukrainian servicemen have been killed. According to a CNN source, a pattern exists of apparent executions seemingly increasing in pace this year. Mongolia, an international criminal court statute signatory, did not arrest Vladimir Putin despite the country's obligation under an ICC warrant. The Russian self-proclaimed president was there for a 2-day official visit. This is the first time he has arrived in a Rome Statute signatory country since March 2023. Back then, the ICC issued a warrant for Putin's arrest. He is accused of the abduction and deportation of Ukrainian children. Countries that are signed up to the Rome Statute, such as Mongolia, are required to detain those who are subject to ICC arrest warrants.
Mongolia is a state party to the Rome Statute of the ICC since 2002. With the legal obligations that it entails, we have raised our concern about the visit and stated our position of the ICC clearly via our delegation in Mongolia. And of course, the EU supports the investigation by the prosecutor of the ICC in Ukraine, and we call for the full cooperation by all state parties.
In a statement to Politico on September 2nd, a Mongolian government spokesperson stated that the country finds itself in a position of energy dependence from Russia, rendering it difficult to handcuff Putin on the International Criminal Court warrant over war crimes in Ukraine. Georgy Tikhy, spokesperson for the Ukrainian Foreign Ministry, called Mongolia's failure to arrest Putin a heavy blow to the international criminal justice system. Ukraine needs not only allies' permission for strikes deep into Russia, but also appropriate weapons. According to Volodymyr Zelenskyy, Kyiv is working on obtaining permission to conduct long-range strikes on targets in Russia with partners who have the appropriate capabilities.
If one of the countries allowed this, and we have received such messages through diplomatic channels and the media, then we need to understand whether that country has supplied us with such weapons. We not only need authorization, we also need to receive weapons. We haven't received everything which we'd like to use.
Romania is to donate a Patriot air defense system to Ukraine. After Romania's lower house of parliament approved the draft bill, President Klaus Iohannis signed it into law. Bucharest decided to supply Kyiv with one of its 2 operational US anti-air systems, a part of 5 such strategic Patriot units pledged by NATO partners earlier in July. Ukraine has unveiled its first long-range rocket drone, Palianytsia. This domestic development is crucial for defense. The rocket drone's range covers about 20 Russian military airfields where enemy aviation is stationed. Ukraine does not yet have permission to strike these targets with Western weapons, so Palianytsia will address this issue and significantly enhance Ukraine's defensive capabilities. United 24 Media spoke with one of the developers of this rocket drone and learned some important details. So far, almost all the details about Palianytsia are classified. However, we found out a bit more of the inner working of the new missile drone. The Palianytsia is launched from a ground platform and features its own turbojet engine. This allows it to reach targets from 600 to upwards of 700 kilometers away, stated advisor of the head of the office of the president, Mikhailo Podolyak. Comparably, this is farther than the range of a Storm Shadow cruise missile. The Ukrainian rocket drone is equipped with electronic warfare countermeasures. It is connected to a satellite and therefore knows its precise location. If the connection is lost, there are other systems to keep it on the required trajectory. Exactly which backup system is installed is currently classified. Mikhailo Fedorov, Minister of Digital Transformation, said each missile costs less than $1 million, and the military is turning to the private sector to bring production costs down even further. The private market generates solutions incredibly quickly, the minister said. The Strategic Industries Ministry states that it is the next step in the evolution of Ukrainian defense tech. In the 2.5 years of the full-scale war, Russia launched over 43,000 missiles at Ukraine. It still dominates the air. The goal of Palianytsia is to destroy the enemy's offensive potential and to do it on their territory. New Ukrainian Thermite-Spewing Dragon drones have been spotted across the front line. The no-chance strike drone company of the 108th Brigade of the Territorial Defense Forces were among the first to share footage of this drone, which has an unusual payload, raining down fire on a Russian position in a forest belt in the Zaporizhzhia region. Soon, other dedicated strike drone units started sharing their own footage from the front line. The large number of sparks and white smoke suggests that the payload was filled with thermite, a mixture of metal powders that produces high temperatures when burned and can exceed 2000 degrees Celsius. Ukrainian athletes bring home 9 more medals, 2 of them gold at the Paris Paralympics. The highest trophies were won by judoist Natalia Nikolaichuk and by shot put athlete Maria Pomazan. Thanks to these achievements, Ukraine remains in 7th place in the medal standings, totaling 61 at the end of the 8th day of the Paralympic Games. This is it for today. We are United 24 Media. Make sure you're subscribed to our channel. Thanks for being with us and see you next week.